Love is indeed beautiful when one is with the right person. Grace never knew or heard of her father or even any of her relation. As a child, she lived with her mother, who was a maid, in Chief Felix's house. She was very playful and a jovial child. Her mother was always unhappy. It made the poor child sad. The only moment she was ever happy was whenever she was given opportunity to play with the chief's children. Grace's mother only talked to her whenever she disturbs her work or step on already cleaned and wet house. Grace's moment alone with her mother was filled with silence. She neither talks nor play with her. She is always in her thoughts. The only thing that brings her back is whenever she is summoned by her madam. Grace don't know nor understand a thing about her mom. She takes care of her and treats her same way she treats her madam's children. Even sometimes, while playing with them, Rain, the first son, and Delight, their only daughter, teases her and tell her that her mother is a silent, mad maid. At 4, she wished she could go to school like other children. She always admired the way Chief drives his 3 children to school every morning. She always sits with the gentleman, waiting for their return. One day, as they all left for work and school, her mother packed some belongings, ignored her, and left. She thought she will come back, as was before. A day passed, nothing. Chief and his wife got worried. They searched for her for 2 weeks, nothing and no sign from her. They thought of sending her to an orphanage, but Chief was a philanthropist. He decided to take care of her, with hope that one day her mother will recover from her madness and come looking for her. Grace only felt her mother's absence at night when she enters the empty house to sleep alone. She was scared, but refused to shout nor cry. Her fear is that she will be chased out by the chief's wife if she complains or cry. Later, the chief employed another person who was more friendly and related with her more. Grace stopped feeling the absence of her mom. The chief enrolled her into a nearby school. No matter how rude or bad the chief's wife, son, Rain, and Delight treated her, she was glad that she had them in her life. Chief's last born, who was her age mate, became her friend. The new maid was asked by the chief's wife to teach her how to serve properly, and argued that it should be her contribution to the house that takes care of her. Grace, finally 18, no sign of mother yet, was preparing for the welcome party of Chief's son and daughter, Rain and Delight, who graduated from Manchester University and are returning home. Since they left, the house was peaceful, quiet, and less work for her. She finally became the maid. Prosper, their last born, started cleaning after himself and even help with the chores whenever their mom is not around. She was scared that things might change, but she really missed rain and delight. She worked so much that when she went into rest, she slept off. Rain never wanted to travel. Unknown to his parents, he never wanted to part from Grace. He was so excited when the program ended. He was so glad. He was offered different opportunities to work and remain in Manchester, but he rejected all because his heart wants to fall off from missing Grace. When he came back and could not find Grace waiting, he felt betrayed. He looked for an opportunity to be free from all the noise, so he could go look for her. She was glad when their attention Queen Delight dragged all attention to herself. He left quietly. When he approached the maid quarters, his heart started to beat heavily, and when he opened the door, and behold, a beautiful, well-built African lady, sleeping like an angel, he had to catch his heart that have already fallen out. He sat quietly on the floor so that he can look directly at her face. He sat there for minutes. His plan was to come in and get her scared and angry as usual, but his heart could no longer bear to scare her again. Finally, Grace quietly opened her eyes, saw him, and jumped up in shock. She was expecting him to become very silly, as usually, but the face she saw was calm, happy, emotional. He held onto her affectionately, asked her to sit beside him for some moments. Grace, confused, did as was told. To Grace, he is more matured and muscular. Grace got shy when she noticed how Rain's eyes was dancing over her body. Grace left when she was called by the chief's wife on the phone. She left Rain in the room. Rain sat there for minutes before he joined the party. He was angry and uncomfortable when he noticed the degrading level her mom had put Grace. She was running around, serving. Before they left, she was only assisting the maid, but now, she was a maid, messenger, and treated like a servant by her mom. He thought her mom was just making her useful as a woman, but never believed that her mom was simply grooming a loyal dog. Rain left the party to prevent an outburst from him. He have already planned to come home and tell his parents about his feelings, but seeing the way Grace was treated and regarded by her mother, he knew that the mission is impossible. In the morning, he sneaked out of his room into Grace's room. He met Grace about to leave and start her morning chores. He begged her to stay for few minutes. Grace, confused and scared that Rain will wake the wrath of her madam, decided to stay and begged Rain to sneak out later. Rain tried to kiss her. She refused. Rain told her that he was busy, missing her to death, while she did not even feel his absence. Grace knew deep inside how much she had denied and not accepted her feelings for Rain. She believed it will end in disaster. She pretended to not miss him a day and left for her duties. Rain refused to sneak out and walked majestically out of Grace's room. He was caught by his brother, who gave him a serious warning, to Rain's surprise, not to go near Grace ever again. Rain arranged his room, waited for when Grace will come in to arrange his. When Grace finally got to her room, he locked the door, begged her to sit. He brought jewelries, clothes, and different cookies he bought for her. It touched Grace's heart. At first, he believed Rain was only pulling her legs, as usual, but when she saw the gifts, a box of cloth, a box of jewelries, and so many other things, she was convinced. But what can she do? She refused the gifts and left for the sister's room, since his was already arranged and neat. When Grace got to the light's room, she was still who she is. She shouted at her at any slightest provocation, and even shouted when she mistakenly spilled her green tea. Her mom and the entire household rushed to her room. When they heard a loud sound, Grace was on the floor, touching her cheek, as the light gave her a heavy slap. Her mother supported her. Rain could not hide his anger, shouted at her, and nearly slapped her back. If not that, he was held back by his brother. Since the travel, Grace could not remember the last time her madam raised her hands on her, but they are back again to help her get repeated slap. After her chores, as she entered her room, she saw all the gifts from Rain in her room, with a sorry note and a flower. It put a smile on her face and softened her heart more. Rain turned it to a daily routine to see her first thing in the morning and got her different gifts whenever he was coming back from work. He begged her to one day put on one of the many clothes he bought for her. The day Rain saw her on one, while driving into the compound, he nearly lost control. He parked his car, stood still, and watched her walking with her mom towards the gate. It was at this moment that her mom realized something was wrong, so he decided to monitor them. That night, Rain waited for everyone to go to bed. He sneaked into Grace's room. He lay close to her, held her, while they slept. It became his daily routine. Love Grace receives from Rain filled a hole in her heart. Rain became her shining armor. Grace decided that, even if it was for a moment, let love fill her up. One morning, they were awoken by a loud shout. When they woke up, it was Chief, his wife, Delight, and the youngest. Grace was so ashamed, she wanted to run off. Rain held her hand, announced to them that he wishes to take a wife. Rain's reaction and announcement irritated Madame Joy, his mother. She told his son that over her dead body, will he allow her to marry an abandoned nobody, daughter of a mad woman? Rain reminded her mother that that daughter of a nobody is his love and holds the key to his heart. Grace was so scared and wished the ground to open at that very moment and swallow her. Delight was looking at her like a piece of shit that wants to reap where she did not sow. Prosper, the last-born, looked at her, called her a betrayal, and left. Madame Joy told her to pack and leave, but when he saw his son packing his bags too, she changed her mind. Rain employed another maid and informed the house that Grace is no longer anyone's maid. His rules were obeyed whenever he is in the house, but was heavily disobeyed when he goes to work. Grace refused to tell him of the maltreatment she passes through when he goes to work. One evening, Grace informed him that she is pregnant. Rain was so happy, told him not to tell a soul, and promised to buy a house for them. He packed secretly with Grace and informed his parents and siblings. A day after they have moved out, he also told them of his plan to marry her immediately, since she has already taken in for her. Grace's time with Rain was the happiest she ever had been. Rain showered her with love and promised to send her to music school, which was her greatest desire. She treated her like a queen. Grace accepted a small church wedding at the demand of her mother-in-law, which made Madame Joy happy. Rain accepted, not knowing that she did that because her mother asked her to. Grace was so happy. Rain could not believe that she is finally his. Delight refused to attend the small family wedding. She don't want to ever accept her as a part of their family. Rain flew her out of the country for honeymoon. A month before Grace was due, Rain received a call for a contract, which he informed Grace. Grace pushed her to, even though he wants to stay with her at this ending stage. A day after he left, Grace got no calls from him. She got worried when she went to her mother-in-law's house to ask them about the contract. Since she is working for his dad, he met them crying. Madame Joy called her bad luck. That charmed his son. They took the car she came with and told her to walk home. After she was told that Rain was missing, that he did not even get to his destination, she walked home in shock. She prayed, cried, searched, visited Rain's friend. 2 weeks passed. No information, no call, no idea of where he was. She wondered if she was cursed at birth. Her mother-in-law accused her of being a witch who makes every beautiful thing around her disappear. She, after 3 weeks of searching for Rain, put to birth a beautiful girl who was Rain's carbon copy. Madame Joy told her that she will stay with the baby for a month. They will take the baby, settle her, and she will leave to a very far place. She, determined that her baby will not be abandoned by her, planned her escape carefully. At the second week, immediately she got stronger. She ran away with her baby. She used the secret account she have with Rain to run to a very far town, changed her contact, and started anew with her baby. She refused to hope that Rain will come back, because it was the same way she waited for her mom's return. She started her music classes. She became top of her class because of her amazing voice and intelligence. She refused every advance from anybody and continued to wear her wedding ring. She was signed into a record. 2 years of her studies. Her first song went viral, so her second and other songs. She became the country's sweetheart. She gained so much popularity, and her management advertised and planned a concert. The stadium was filled up. When she started her best song, she titled Rain, it was a love and heartbreaking song. She saw someone who looked very familiar. She did not believe her eyes. She thought fame was playing tricks on her. She looked again and could not find him. After the concert, she saw someone fighting with the bouncers. It was Rain. She stood still. Her daughter, 3 years, urged her to move. She jumped, rushed, hugged him. While still in an embrace, Rain told her of how he searched and searched for her. The day he heard her voice on the radio, he knew immediately that she was the one. His sweetheart voice. That day, he ate like a criminal, bought drinks for people he met at the bar, because finally, he knew she was alive. The only problem was how to reach her. He told her of how he tried to reach out to her, but his efforts was frustrated until today. Grace was so happy, but Rain knew she needed more answers. He saw his daughter. He told her of how he believed that the both of them are still alive, and prayed every day for his precious daughter. Grace introduced him to her as Daddy, and Rain refused to let go of her. She carried her like a newborn baby, even in the car, until they got to Grace's apartment. Rain was amazed at what he saw. He was grateful to God, who gave him the idea to open a secret account for them before the incident. He did not care if she had someone already. All he wanted was to see her and her daughter every day. After they had eaten, and Precious had slept off, he told Grace of how he was kidnapped. A few kilometers from their house, he was kept in a compound fed him well, though he refused to eat because his hearts were heavy and his stomach could not accept food. He only ate to survive. They set him free 2 months later, and when he got back, her mom told her that she lost the baby, ran mad like her mom, and ran away. At first, I believed that my mom frustrated you and chased you away. I started searching for you, but the day I heard a familiar voice of one of the men who kidnapped me and communicated with me with their faces covered in our house, as I went to visit, I decided to investigate my kidnap. I found out that everything was planned by my mom. As he was talking, Grace wrapped her hands all over him, kissed him softly. Grace cried when he told her of how, in his investigation, realized that her mom killed her mom for a secret she knew about them. He told Grace that he have solid evidence if she wants to seek justice. Rain have made sure to have nothing to do with his parents again. After his discovery, he stopped working for them and started his own. He refused to pick their calls, nor tell them why he made such choice. He wanted their conscience to be their judge. Grace's heart was broken when she heard how much he had suffered. She lay her head on his thighs as she told Rain her own part of story. She told him that she will not seek justice for his sake, so that they will have nothing to do with them again. Rain told her of his effort to find her family and promised that he will find them. They held in order as if the world would separate them if they stopped. Rain and Grace's love was so much that even apart, they were faithful to each other. Grace moved into the house Rain bought. After selling their old house, they retook their vow. Grace continued with her music, with Rain being supportive. Every day they wake up, they thanked God that they found each other again, and still madly in love.